During the 2026 New Year celebrations, a crossover crusade organized by the Ministry of Repentance and Holiness, led by Prophet David Owuor, attracted thousands of his followers in Nakuru, where the controversial prophet claimed that some patients were healed of critical illnesses including cancer, HIV, blindness, deafness, muteness, among other physical disabilities. Surprisingly, a group of medical doctors were present at the scene and confirmed the purported healing, a proclamation that raised eyebrows among Kenyans.
Damu ya Yesu
went to all of the sanctuary sites
ilienda katika zile sehemu zote fiche
where the ARVs cannot reach,
mahali ambapo ARVs haiwezi kufika,
and which is why HIV has no cure.
na hiyo ndio sababu ambayo virusi vya ukimwi havina tiba.
And so the blood of Jesus went there and did a military operation.
In response, Prophet Owuor has since defended his spiritual healings, maintaining that he has healed a total of 30 people with HIV and that the healed cases have been fully documented and have been scientifically verified.
Kwa hakika katika taifa letu la Kenya tunao madaktari wa ngazi za juu ambao ukiangalia kwenye mkutano wa Menengai 8 ambao umefanyika juzi, kulikuwa na madaktari wa serikali pale ambao wamehitimu na serikali inawajua. Kwa hivyo tuko tayari kwa ajili ya uchunguzi wowote ule ambao utaletwa na hao madaktari.
The doctors present at the crusade have also broken their silence on the matter. Dr. John Mureithi has maintained that he is a licensed medical doctor and general surgeon with 10 years of post-internship clinical experience. According to Dr. Mureithi, when a HIV patient claims healing, the process does not begin with belief but with verification. He says they reverted to the primary managing clinician who reviewed the original medical records and conducted repeat testing using standard diagnostic protocols. Dr. Mureithi further states that they have identified a replicable longitudinal cohort of over 30 individuals who were previously HIV positive and are now persistently seronegative for several years. Such outcomes, he says, represent a significant and well-documented medical anomaly. On her part, Dr. Rispa Wambua has maintained that indeed the said HIV patients have since been healed after demonstrating sustained HIV-negative results on repeat antibody testing. Dr. Rispa adds that the outcomes are supported by structured clinical follow-up. The medical practitioners currently under investigation, including Dr. Mureithi and Dr. Rispa, have said that they will cooperate with the Ministry of Health and KMPDC.
Nataka niwahakikishie kwamba yule ambaye anaponya hao watu, yule ambaye anaponya virusi vya ukimwi, virusi vya kansa, si mwingine ni Kristo Yesu wa Nazareti. Na kama serikali inataka kufanya uchunguzi, tuko tayari. Na tunataka waende wachukue hata kompyuta mpya.
On the 3rd of January, KMPDC released a statement saying that purported healing raises profound concerns regarding public health safety and professional ethics. KMPDC further stated that claims of healing for chronic or life-threatening conditions like HIV and cancer require verifiable medical documentation, and that unsubstantiated claims by health professionals may mislead vulnerable individuals and deter them from seeking proven therapies. For now, only time will tell if the religious texts by Prophet Owuor will either harmonize or clash with scientific findings. This is not an isolated case of a self-proclaimed miracle healer. Between 2006 and 2011, the hope of healing and distrust in modern medicine forced some Kenyans ailing from different diseases, including chronic and life-threatening diseases like HIV, to embark on a journey to a remote village of Samunge in Loliondo in the neighboring country of Tanzania. Their aim was to get a cup of herbal concoction from a Tanzanian Lutheran priest and herbalist, the late Ambilikile Mwasapile, popularly known as Babu Waloliondo, who used a tree known as Mugariga to make a non-flavored drink, which he administered to patients reporting various chronic diseases. But it later emerged that the said patients were never healed. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
It has indeed been one of the biggest talking points of 2026 and even towards the end of 2025, matters religion. It is going to be a big discussion later on the show, starting at 8 a.m. with Wakili Silas Akiro. But I'm very much privileged to have two top-notch lawyers with me, even for the state of the nation, and I'd want to try and see what they have to say about this matter already. Allow me to introduce Wakili Joshua Nyamori. Karibu sana.
Good morning, Indumoli.
Good morning. And also Wakili Harrison Kinyanjui. Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Good morning.
It's good to see you this side of the new year. Karibuni sana.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
So the Kenya's constitution establishes a secular state with no official religion, Article 8. Guarantees freedom of conscience, belief and worship for all citizens. Goes on Article 32 to prohibit discrimination based on religion and ensuring equality and state neutrality. So matters religion, conscience, belief and opinion are very dicey discussions. Currently there's a bill to regulate religious practices which has been very controversial. Now, with what is happening right now, do you think we have already crossed the line, Wakili Nyamori?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think any of those moves has been an attack on the freedom of worship or religion or conscience. But then human, acts have to be regulated, okay? Just like any other freedoms, we exercise them within a certain legal frameworks. So that you are free to worship whatever you want. You can worship this pen. But you cannot use this, weaponize this pen to cause death. Mm-hmm. You cannot do it in a manner that, result in harm of individuals or society. So the law is there to, one, protect and enhance the exercise of those freedoms, but also to protect the society against people who then misuse those rights and freedoms. And we have very many examples. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't think we've gotten to the point where we can say that we are limiting mm-hmm. Freedom of conscience and so on. Yeah. Yes.
But Wakili Kinyanjui, there's definitely a challenge when it comes to enforcement of some of the provisions of our constitution and matters religion. Or, as Wakili Nyamori says, these things should not cause harm. But we've seen that from time to time, due to religious beliefs and opinions, we've seen even children being denied access to vaccination or to immunization. Now there's issues about alternative healing or miraculous healing, where even professional medical practitioners are backing such beliefs. Don't you think that's definitely, even if there are provisions in our laws to tackle this issue, when it comes to enforcement, it's not as easy?
Let's not talk about vaccination, forcing children, or, let's not go there. Let's talk about religion.
Why not? It is a real challenge.
No. And this vaccination thing has gone way off on a tangent. Uh-huh. And of course, there's a bill pending now in the Senate. It was introduced by all persons, Karen Nyamu, to deal with autism. Mm-hmm. That's a whole subject for a different day, but not for now. Mm-hmm. But I believe that if you inject any child with aluminium, in the name of vaccination, you're actually retarding them. Mm-hmm. And therefore you're infecting their blood. Life is in the blood. And we do have eugenicists. And there's a whole issue that I'll not go into. There's one particular person who should have a death warrant on his head called Bill Gates, who moves from computers to vaccinations, and he wants to tell you that you need these and the other vaccines. So let's not go there. But let's come to the issue of this religion. I believe that this is a setup, because already there is this bill pending in Parliament about regulation of religion. Now, we have a court case based on what was there, and the committee that ventured because of Shakahola. And Shakahola wouldn't have happened. One person would not have died if the government, the agencies that are tasked with investigating crime, with the prosecution of the perpetrators, actually had done what they should do, but they didn't do it. But there is a concerted direction that you can see that somehow they need to somehow blacklist some, should I say, religious practitioners who are not in the mainstream. And I'm not validating or in any way advocating or stamping with approval what this person is doing, because they are charlatans who are out there deceiving people at their very gullible points with these miracles. And remember, if you're a Christian, in the book of Revelation, chapter 19, verse 20, it tells you that the false prophet who will be part of the beast system will perform false miracles. So the realm of the psychic, the supernatural, is one, in my humble view, you cannot regulate by means of the law. Mm-hmm. You have to accept and embrace that the human being, over and above the material existence, there is a spiritual existence. Mm-hmm. And now we have the divergence of opinions about how we should then conduct ourselves in terms of worship. How do you worship? So what is to you probably an acceptable way of worship may not be acceptable to Joshua, for instance. Joshua may say that this is how we worship. Mm-hmm. Animists, for instance, had their own belief system. But when the colonial forces came into being, they needed to impose a religious sort of way of dealing with the African, because they couldn't deal with all these religious beliefs. And so if you want to regulate the realm of the religious, then you have to have an entry point. And in my humble view, this is one of the facets of the entry point. Shakahola was one. In my humble view, it failed. And this was a stage-managed thing. And you have to understand and apprehend.
400 people died, is stage-managed?
No, I'm saying to use it as a religious front.
Okay.
To use it as a religious front, as an entry point, mm-hmm. to regulate, in a blanket way. I mean, I cannot say that all these religious leaders are performing false miracles. Why, for instance, should someone invite a medical doctor? You don't have the facilities there by means of which to do the chemical tests that you need, the blood tests that you need to do, the gamut of the tests that you need to do as a medical practitioner. So I think it is wrong for a medical doctor to come and say that, well, I'm here to verify to you that this person has now been, quote unquote, healed by means of the miracle.
The question now is, when do you now classify this as criminal? Because it would appear that the biggest challenge is for enforcement agencies to actually approach these matters of belief, that if at all I choose not to receive treatment for an ailment of which a treatment is available, is it criminal?
First, I've tried to understand my legal colleague, learned friend, and I'm not sure what he stands for. There's a philosophy in the legal profession, which my learned friend is very well aware of, that you cannot probate and reprobate. And so he cannot at one end say that there are certain, he is opposing regulation, but at the same time saying that there are certain things that are being done by certain religious organizations that are not right. The issue is, no one is attacking freedom to worship, or religion, of conscience. You can pray. You can go to the mountain and pray. I can go to the lake and pray. I can pray to Allah. You can pray to Jesus Christ. Okay? What the law intends to avoid is Shakahola, okay? What the law intends to avoid is weaponizing the religion to cause harm to either the people who, are members of the purported religious organization or to the public, okay? I would not want to get into the nitty-gritties because I do not have the details of exactly what happened in that recent crusade and the supposed healing. I have seen the professional, medical professionals coming in to discuss it, and we hope that they would finally tell us exactly what happened and whether it was right or wrong. But then there should be a certain standard below which you cannot go. Mm-hmm. And this standard can only be established by law, okay? Beyond which, if you go, then you are committing a crime and you cannot be charged without, coming up and justifying.
But Joshua, how about politics? About criminals in politics?
I'll let you speak.
I'll come to you, Wakili.
Yeah, I'll let you speak. I mean, we have criminals in politics. Mm-hmm. I was just watching a video of the former deputy president on Sunday stating that children from Mount Kenya have been denied entry into Alliance and Mangu High School. He's basically inciting ethnicity against children going to national school. There is possibility that could inflame conflict. That would be law. That there we have laws, and we need to strengthen laws against such elements, okay? So what am I saying? That we need to protect those who exercise their freedoms, but in exercising freedoms, we also need to protect the society. Just like we will protect the country against ethnic bigots that we have in politics, like Rigathi Gachagua.
Okay, Wakili, you need to clarify something that he
the point, I think it is wrong for him to accuse me of approbating and reprobating. I'm saying the scope, the sphere, the area of worship, religion, is something that the government, the state cannot regulate. Shouldn't even venture there. If a certain religious practitioner, whether he's a Hindu or a Muslim, a Christian, an animist, an atheist, or whatever it is, the religious, the psychic realm is one which is not capable of regulation by means of the laws that we enact. Outside the penal system, because I'm saying that we have a penal system, the penal code does exist. So if those people who are engaged in Shakahola did what they did amounting to a crime, punish them, because that law does exist. If they were defrauded, like you have this idea that, send M-Pesa money and then you will receive a miracle. I mean, that to me would be defrauding someone.
At what point does it become criminal? Because contributions to churches are open. At what point does it become a crime?
You see what I'm saying? If you deceive, the deception here is that, okay, you send me this amount of money. And then if you send a definite amount of money, because sometimes they quote, then you will receive a miracle. The moment you don't receive that miracle, then obviously then you have been defrauded. But I'm saying, and you see, that's a challenge that is right there. Because in terms of proof, you need evidential proof in a court of law, any court of law, that you need to show that I was actually deceived in a manner that amounts to a crime. But what is happening here? What is happening here is exactly what is happening in the sphere of your private communication. The government wants to snoop into your private communication. The government wants to be over there. This is 1984, all over. I mean, George Orwell. This is what they want to do. The government has projected to get into your religious freedom. They want to curtail your freedom of expression. They want to curtail your freedom of religion, your private space. They don't want you to have any realm of privacy. But beyond that, and this is the crazy bit about it, the government wants to impose its ideas on you, what you can do and what you cannot do. Hello? The government wants even to impose, soon to come, a religion that you have to believe, because it was, that belief of yours is harming so-and-so. In order to not to harm so-and-so, you have to accommodate so-and-so.
Allow me to welcome Meshack Odede into this discussion. Meshack Odede is a political commentator, political and social commentator. Karibu sana and Happy New Year to you, Meshack. You found us deep in that conversation about religion, the concerns that exist right now with the happenings that have been so much publicized over the last few days. Yeah. The link between religion and medicine and the beliefs that exist and concerns that are real, especially on issues like HIV and AIDS. You hear how these two senior advocates of the High Court differ on this matter. What is your opinion? Have we crossed the line?
Yes, I will come probably from the social science perspective. I've worked in the communities. We've done this. For example, my first assignment when I first started working was on aging and cardiovascular diseases, the lifestyle diseases, the perception of a normal Kenyan about diseases like hypertension, high sugar level, diabetes and all that. There's always a perception that a community or the citizens builds. And once that perception is built to the best level, it can hurt the same people. For example, growing up, in the days I grew up, many people just believed it could be not founded on a scientific basis, but so many people in the days I grew up just believed that having sugar level high and things like diabetes is a disease for the rich people. So even the poor people could just feed in a poor way and have it, but in their mind, this is not their disease. So they could keep treating malaria and other things. I mean, going to the nearby pharmacy, taking Panadol and all that, but they never go for checkup. But the rich people, because probably they could afford, once in a while they could go for checkup, even if they are not sick, and they would be told, your sugar level is actually rising high. And then the poor neighbor says, this is a disease for rich. We don't have such kind of disease. So from a social perspective, you realize we have crossed the line even way too far, much, much further. Because here is a religion that now tells you that all these things, including HIV, can actually be cured by a prayer. If we get the society to believe that, it may not be against the law, but it is still wrong. Not everything that is not fighting with the law is right. Sometimes they are just morally, but not legally. So it might not, they may not have crossed maybe the legal boundaries, but still, as a society, morally, it is still far away from what we want. Because if that was the case, then why have pastors, bishops, and every religious leader let the country and the world suffer when they can actually do away with this thing? Why are they not walking into Kenyatta National Hospital and just doing their thing and everybody goes home? Why do they keep watching Kenyans suffering when they know they can do these things? Why do they let doctors in the lab 24 hours trying to get the cure for HIV when they know they actually have it? So sometimes you realize, again, religion has been misused in Africa more than any other place. We all go to the church, the churches we belong to. I belong to a church. But then again, when you are lucky enough to move across the world, you realize Africa are overdoing religion. Whichever church you go to, compare that to what they do in other parts of the world, you will realize Africa has overdone faith by far. So we have made things that are supposed to be simple and scientific become a religious thing. All right. It is like we want to believe that, again, Fred, you realize even when we're talking about faith, yes, faith is there. But go to any church on a Saturday or Sunday or whichever day those people worship and ask how many people have left their doors open because they believe their God that much. In Nairobi here, they will tell you they have closed the doors and the lock and key. They have the key here. Yes, they didn't say our God is able. And I know as I'm going to church, my home will be safe. They know it will never be safe. But when somebody is
confine ourselves
sick.
to the link between religion and
Yes,
medicine.
that's what I am saying. And when somebody is
Because it's
this
freedom
much
of worship.
sick,
Yes,
they are
yes.
told, don't go to the hospital, that same God will.
It does seem to me, that, Mesha, I think you've gone off on a tangent. You are mixing belief with religion and conscience. And yet, the Constitution is very clear that nobody can force you in terms of your belief, your religion, and your conscience. So whatever you believe conscientiously should be actually
And that is protected.
And that's protected by the Constitution. Now, that is what I was saying, that we stand the danger then of where Mesha has taken us in terms of if that is the position adopted by the state functionaries who want to regulate religion, and I say they mix the belief with the religious aspect and your conscience.
All right.
Because there are people who believe, for instance, that they should worship in a certain way, and that is a freedom they have to believe.
Okay.
Fred,
allow me to because
one second.
We will have this discussion at 8 with another lawyer.
No, mine is 1 second, Fred. For me, it is simple, Harrison. When that belief is hurting you physically, I mean, it's at the end of the day, the belief sold to you is hurting you. I am sick, I can't go to the hospital, and then I am dying. That belief is a lie. And that lie is supposed
allow us
to
take a break.
Yes, and that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
Morning Cafe takes a short break. When we come back, we move on to another discussion, because this particular discussion about religion, faith, healing, and the law is what we're going to have at 8 a.m. this morning. Where does worship end and regulation begin? We'll be having Wakili Silas Akiro in studio for that. As you can see, opinion is totally divergent here. So let's take a short break. When we come back, we discuss matters politics.